In this video, we're going to walk through the new self-serve ad terms update that Facebook has been rolling out this week. These terms take effect, as you can see, January 3rd, 2023. So it's coming up in the new year. And as an advertiser, there's a couple things in here that have me a little worried. And hopefully we can get a little bit more clarity from Meta before these go live in the new year. But I just kind of wanted to walk through what some of these things mean to me as an advertiser and what are some red flags going forward that is making me a little uncomfortable in terms of what I do for my clients and their businesses. Now, I am not a lawyer. I have no legal ramifications to this whatsoever. So this is strictly my opinion on what I am interpreting this information to be. So please don't take it for anything more than my opinion on that. So if you're an advertiser, you got a flag in your ad account or your client's accounts over the last week, a lovely black bar saying, the terms and services are changing and for you to be able to read it. So this is what you get when you click that link. Most of this is pretty self-explanatory and hasn't changed much from previous ones. But there's a couple things I want to specify out that, again, makes me a little concerned going forward. So in terms of this, it's saying, when you place an order, you're telling Facebook the type of advertising you want to buy, your spend and everything. When they accept it, they'll deliver your ads as they become available. They do your best efforts, et cetera, et cetera. So they're not guaranteeing any success or failure of your ads. Your ads must comply with all applicable laws. Pretty straightforward. Number 3, we may reject or remove any ad for any reason. Now, this one's a little interesting because we know that they can reject ads if you don't follow the terms and services, but now they're saying we can reject or remove any ad for any reason. So they're just blanket statement. If we don't like your ad, we're going to remove it. So this one's a little worrisome because what are those parameters that they're basing this off of? Is this just a blanket statement? So, if they find people who are, violating the terms, they can get rid of them quicker. We don't know. So this one's a little interesting to see what comes out. Number 4 here, a whole bunch on terms of payments. So of course, you are responsible for everything that you're paying for or your client's paying for, that you can cancel. This one here, F, is really interesting. You can cancel an order at any time, but your ads may run for 24 hours after you notify them, and you're still responsible for the payments. So up until now, if you turn off an ad set, you don't pay for it anymore. And this is, to me, signaling that even though you turn off that ad or that campaign, your ads can still run for another 24 hours and you're going to be billed for that. So this one's a big red flag to me. And I would love to be able to get more information as to what this means going forward and how that's going to affect us. Because most of us, we set, schedules so it turns off at a certain time, especially if it's a launch. We don't need ads to run beyond the date of the launch. That's confusing to our audience. That doesn't make sense. And then, of course, it's a waste of money if we're putting out ads beyond the time that we really want to have them. So this one will be interesting to see what happens with that. You're responsible for all the applicable taxes and levies, including withholding taxes. You're responsible for bearing and remitting any taxes that apply to your transactions. So this one's interesting. I don't know much about tax laws and things like that. I know as a Canadian, I have GST that's associated with it. And it's been a little while since I've taken a look on whether Facebook actually charged me the GST when I place ads or whether that is after the fact. So this one, I think I need a little bit more information just for myself to be able to understand what that means. The rest of these obviously is just in terms of payment. So it's saying you're set up for payments. If your payment method fails, they can come after you with collections, et cetera, et cetera. You have to have everything paid up going forward. Number 5, understand that they will run tests on their self-serve ad interfaces and related systems that may impact your use. So they're just, again, covering their base that if they decide they want to change things out for testing, that they don't have to notify you, they just can do it. So number 6, we will determine the size, placement, and positioning of your ads. This one's an interesting one, and one that I'm a little confused on is up until now, Facebook tells you, this is the best size for this placement. And if you don't have that placement set up properly for your ads, you can still run it. The either A, Like in terms of video, if the video is too long for, say, a stories placement, they just don't place it on that placement for you. Or if the ad is a different size than what they're recommending, depending on where that placement is, sometimes it still goes forward without any changes to it. For instance, like if you're running a story or a reel ad, if your ad doesn't fill the whole sizing of the story or the reel, you can still run like a square image or a slightly bigger image in there, and there's no issues. So this one is a little confusing, because does it mean if your size isn't what Facebook has already determined for that placement, that they're going to automatically adjust it for you? This could become troublesome, especially if you're doing, say, a square image and you want it on the placement for stories. Does that mean they're going to stretch the image to that placement? We don't know yet. So this will be interesting to see what happens going forward. Granted, for all placements, you should have your ads set for those placements to begin with, but sometimes that's just not possible. So something to keep in mind. They don't guarantee reach or performances. They can't control clicks, pretty standard in there. If your ad is about social issues, elections, politics, Meta may display and provide access to the ad content and creative and the information about the ad campaign for a period of 7 years from the completion of your order. So if you are under these categories, it means that that information is public for a period of 7 years. So I don't know what the ramifications of that could be. It's an ad category I don't tend to work in. You consent that Meta may disclose your advertising content and all information associated with advertising to a government entity or body if Meta believes the disclosure would assist in a lawsuit. So this is saying that if you are in these ad categories, the ads that you're running could be held liable for you for years to come if a lawsuit was held against you. Again, this is just my interpretation. Be sure you have someone else look at this information here. Again, I don't work in these categories, so I really don't have much of a say on those ones going forward. Pretty straightforward for most of these. Number 13 is really interesting. This one's one that I've got a really big red flag on myself. You will not issue any press release or make public statements about your relationship with Meta or the Meta products without our prior written permission. This one, to me, signals that if you badmouth Facebook or Instagram or Meta in any way, shape, or form, they can come after you. That, to me, is worrisome. It puts us all in a huge amount of danger, and it's kind of it's a gag clause to me. This one, I think we really need to understand a little bit more onto that, what that means in terms of what they're talking about in terms of public statements. Does that mean if I'm posting in a Facebook group of other advertisers and we're talking about whatever Meta has changed and it is in a negative light, does that mean I'm held liable for something? So this one, again, has a really big red flag for me. And hopefully we can get a little more clarification on that. Most of the rest is pretty self-explanatory. This one here, number 14, is the other big red flag that I have. And again, it'll be interesting to see if we can get a little bit more information. But if you're placing ads on someone else's behalf, you must have permission to place those ads and agree as follows. So if you're someone like me running ads for clients, you represent and warrant that you have the authority to and will bind the advertiser to the self-serve ad terms to which you also agree. So just making sure your client also agrees to these terms. Nothing new about that. If the advertiser you represent violates the self-serve ad terms, they can hold you responsible for that violation. That is a big one to me. And that one I don't like. Because we all know that we don't have full control over our clients. And if they decide to go rogue on us, or they hire someone else to come in and we're attached to that, they can hold us responsible for that. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And that puts a really bad taste in my mouth. So I would definitely want to understand a little bit more about what that means in terms of what exactly they can hold me responsible for. And that you agree that you may provide campaign reporting information to the end advertiser for whom you placed a campaign. That just to me signals that your clients can get a reporting information of what you've done, which I don't think is anything new. So that's kind of a quick walkthrough in this. There's a couple big flags that I have that I would love to get more information from, and hopefully we can get more information before this goes live. But just something to be aware of. You really need to understand what the terms and services are that you are agreeing to as an advertiser, and fully understand the comprehension of that before you ever run a single ad. So I hope this helps. We'll see you on the next one.